Any ideas on installing a drop hook on a Switch for fishing? Philly Style, thank you for a $2 super chat. I do, Philly Style. I hesitate to give too much instruction on how to design a drone to drop things, because the world in which it used to be that if you had a drone that dropped things, it might be a water balloon or it might be a little man with a parachute, you know. And these days, drones are dropping all kinds of things that aren't really cute or fun or funny. And so when somebody says, can you tell me how to design a drone with a dropper? It'd be kind of like if somebody said, hey, can you tell me how to design a firearm? And I'd be like, I need to know a little bit more about who's getting this information before I engage. So I'm just going to say, you got a servo and there is a mechanism called a dropper that the servo, can disengage and drop the hook. If you do some Google searching, you can find examples of people who've built, RC airplane bomb drop. You can certainly look for that. And it's a fairly standard mechanism. You've just got like a pin that goes through and holds the thing in place, and the servo pulls the pin out and the thing falls, is the gist of it. But that's about as much information as I like to give these days without knowing more about who's receiving the information. Meme FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Making the switch from DJI RC going to ExpressLRS with a Radio Master Pocket. Pointers or tips for making the swap. Good luck. There's a learning curve. Be prepared for it to kind of suck and be a little confusing at first. I would start with this video, which is a very basic way of binding ExpressLRS. Now, you'll notice there's more videos about binding ExpressLRS. There's too many videos about binding ExpressLRS. It's easy to get overwhelmed. This video, though, excuse me, I've decided to get the hiccups every live stream now. I don't know why that is. We'll just see how that goes. This video assumes that you have a radio that's already set up with ExpressLRS 3.0, which the Radio Master Pocket will be. And it assumes, does it just update the firmware on the receiver? I don't know. This is the simplest way to bind an ExpressLRS receiver and just get started, and walks you through the very, very basics. And if this works for you, great. It is a 28-minute video. Jesus Christ. Oh, I see. No, it's also installing the receiver. Okay, good. Okay. It's soldering the receiver in. It's installing a receiver on the quad. It's not just binding. Okay, great. So you would start at about 13 minutes into the video, where the chapter is called About ExpressLRS Binding. And then if that works for you, great. That'll get you through. There are other videos with more. You guys can't see because I'm zoomed in. Sorry about that. There you go. How do you flash the Radio Master Pocket when there's no target in ExpressLRS configurator? Ace did FPV. When I started my Radio Master Pocket up in the ExpressLRS Lua script, it shows the target name at the top of the screen. If I remember correctly, it had the Zorro target. So I'm pretty sure that it takes the Zorro target, although it will eventually have a target of its own. But Mike Bergman said, I can't help but dislike drone fishing. I think it's lame. No offense to anyone here. Now, Plenty, I know you fish, and I thought you might have an opinion on that, and I always like to get you talking about fishing or one of your hobbies, because I always find it really fascinating. So first of all, would you mind telling people what is drone fishing? For those who maybe are like, how do you fish with a drone?
I think there's different methods of drone fishing, but typically it's the same thing as like using an RC boat. You just attach a line to it. You take the line out past the surf and you drop it so that you don't have to cast past the surf where you couldn't physically cast from shore.
Right. So you're talking about like in the ocean. You're trying to, yeah. I mean, at that point, you're just doing something that's physically impossible. It's not like you're cheating. It's like you want to fish in the ocean from the shore. There's no way a human could cast their line that far. So the only way to get the hook out past the breakers is to use a vehicle like a drone or a boat.
Yeah, in Florida, a lot of people use boats. There's boats that are meant for it, little RC boats that are meant to do it.
So you wouldn't drone fish in a lake where you could just cast wherever you wanted.
I can't imagine what purpose it would be. Like, why would a drone be any better than anything else? It's just making noise and rippling the water if it's close enough, and like you're not going to spot fish with it. So like, I can't imagine what the purpose would be.
Right. So you don't agree that drone fishing is lame? You would say it's. I mean,
if we're talking about used to get to drop past the surf, then no, I don't think it's lame.
If you're somehow think that using it to like, instead of angling and like casting the hook right where it needs to be, you've just decided to take a drone out and drop it out on the fish that are no longer there because the drone scared them away. That's lame. I think we would agree that that's lame.
Sure. Yes.
Mike Bergman says, my thoughts exactly. Yeah, Mike, the question is anyone doing that? I don't know if anyone's doing that. Okay, continuing on our super chats. Thanks to the super chats for supporting the live stream. Nazar Koken wants to know benefit of a compass in GPS. Nazar, the benefit of a compass is that a GPS cannot tell what direction you're facing. Think about that for a second. It's going to drive me crazy that this drawer is open behind me. Hold on. Okay. A GPS can't tell what direction you're facing. It only knows where you are, right? GPS location, not GPS direction. Well, actually, GPS direction is a thing. A GPS receiver will also report a heading. How does the GPS know you're heading? Well, it knows where you are, and it knows where you are, and it knows where you are. And if it knows where you are, and it knows where you were, that it can tell what direction you're moving, and it assumes that you're facing the direction that you're moving, because for a lot of vehicles, that's true. So when you have just a GPS with no compass, how does Betaflight know what direction you're facing? One of the ways that it gets that information is from the GPS heading, and the GPS heading is based on your direction of movement. But if you think about it, and you can do this test, if you have a quadcopter with a GPS and no compass, take it out, put the GPS, put the direction home indicator, put the direction home indicator in your OSD, and slide sideways instead of flying forward. Just roll to the side and slide sideways. And what you'll see is that the direction home indicator will change because now the flight controller assumes that you've turned and you're facing that direction. If you have a compass, it can actually know what direction you're facing independent of what direction you're moving because the compass gives you a magnetic orientation, and that's the benefit of a compass. The other thing about compasses is that if you rotate in place, a GPS can't know that you're rotating, except that's not entirely true either. So here's where it gets a little more complicated. Do this. Try this experiment. On a quadcopter that doesn't have a compass, put the compass heading in your OSD and watch what happens. And what will happen is that when you power up the quad, the compass heading will read north. And if you turn the quad 90 degrees to the right, the compass heading will read east, and so on and so on. How does the flight controller know what direction you're facing when there isn't a compass? And the answer is that it can detect the rotation of the quad via the gyro. And so the flight controller will actually do its best to estimate what direction you're facing based on the gyro. But the problem is that that's like a form of dead reckoning, and eventually it accrues error. It becomes more and more incorrect over time. So the way it actually works is that it uses a combination of the GPS heading, the gyro rotation, and the compass all together to sort of estimate what direction you're facing. And if you don't have a compass, that estimate is less accurate. Good question.